All right, everybody. Just got off of work. I'm on my way home. I'm all dirty and sweaty and whatnot, but I got a couple things rolling around in my mind, so I wanted to talk about some stuff I was writing about this morning and see if we can come to some sort of conclusion. So, I've been talking a lot about frames and symbols and beyond reason. Frames being the order, the structure, the form, the measurement. Beyond reason being the irrational, the abstract, the chaos, the potential. And the symbol being the union between the two. Carl Jung talked about how the symbol was the union between the irrational and the rational. And again, we're not talking about things that are false. We're talking about things that are beyond reason. And this is what the Tao represented. When we speak of the Tao in the Christian sense, it's not usually compared to Christianity because it's an Eastern philosophy idea. But if it doesn't take too much of imagination to imagine it to be a part of the Christian idea, because we call God eternal, we call Him infinite, we call Him immeasurable, we call Him limitless, right? And so when we speak of the Tao is considered the part of reality that can't be measured. It's the eternal source of things. So if you just add that same concept on God, then when we're speaking of the Tao-ness of God, the Judeo-Christian God, then what we're saying is we're referring to the part of God that we can't understand. And so reason acts as the part that we can understand. And God gives us the ability to reason. He wants us to know Him. That's why He gave us the Bible and the Mosaic Law and the Sermon on the Mount. And, a lot of people spend a lot of their time and maybe even their entire lives explaining the parts of God that we can understand to help people on their Christian walk. And kudos to them. But there is also the reality that there are things that we cannot understand about God. One of those things are the Trinity, the idea of the Trinity. God is three separate beings, but also one being. That seems to me like a logical contradiction, but I don't think it's false. I think God is beyond reason. And so He's not held within the bounds of logic, or He's not held within the limitations or the measurements of reason. And so when we think of a symbol, it's the union between the two. There's the reality that there are things that are abstract, and this is the spiritual realm. The spiritual realm is the measureless thing, and we have a spirit in all of us. We have a nature in all of us. But then there's also the measure of that thing so that we can try to understand it. And the symbol is the portrayal of that. If you're looking at a symbol correctly, you're not looking at the lines, you're looking through them. And it's because a symbol represents something. It stands on behalf of something. And so we can think of just the normal word like this. A word, like if I were to say the word love, the idea or the reality of love is not held within the frame of the word. The frame, or the characters, the letters, acts as a measurement to shine a spotlight on an aspect of reality. Well, the aspect of reality is now contained within the symbol. We look through it like we look through a picture frame so that we can see love from a new perspective. But just because I said the word love doesn't mean I'm loving, right? It's not there. It's not inside of the word. The symbol acts on behalf of whatever it's representing. And so, such is life. And I'm coming to believe more and more that the entire physical world is a symbolic representation of the spiritual world. Because if you think about something as simple as an action, well, an action is a concretized version of a belief. You have a value, and the value turns into a thought, the thought is then carried out through an action, and you've proven that you believe whatever the thing is, right? So if I believe that I should get healthy, I'm going to start eating right, and I'm going to start exercising. If I believe that love is a good thing, then I'm going to start loving people. And so it starts in the Tao-ness of your spirit, right? The immeasurable part of you, the fluid part of you, the chaotic part of you. It's your nature, it's your spirit, the thing that is immeasurable about you, your spiritual side. But then it's brought out and it's concretized through action. And so when we think of things like discipline becomes the ultimate self-expression, because it's the consistency of the concretization of your spiritual self. So just like the word captures an aspect of reality, an action captures an aspect of you. And so when we think of things like habits, so a habit is a system of action. If you do something over and over and over and over again, your muscle memory begins to do the thing without needing conscious thought. And that's the same thing as saying that you create the habit and then the habit creates you. And so when you create the habit, you're shedding value into the habitual self. You're telling yourself, these are the things that we do now. Make it so I don't have to think about it anymore. So it's habitualized value system, because you've had to decide to do that thing over and over and over again. And anything that you repeat, you've valued. And so if you've repeated it to the point where it's been concretized into the very makeup of your being, literally a habit, like it's a physical, you don't have to think about it, it's just a physical thing that you do without conscious thought, then that means that you've concretized the belief system, the value system, into your physical makeup. And so habits create character. Well, if you think about what the character is a symbol. The character is the union between your decisions, which are value propositions, and your actions, which are the concretization of those same value propositions. And if you've done that over 10, 20 years, you create a character. Well, your character, when people think of your character, they can guess based off of probability on if it's within your character or not. So if you never lie, when you say something, people are going to be like, no, it's not like him to lie. And it's because you value telling the truth. And you've done it so often, day after day, action after action, that it's become habit. And people can rely on the systems that you've created to not lie, no matter what. And so they just look to your character and they say, no, he's not a liar. And so the character acts as a symbol because it's the concretization of who you are, right? It's who you are. And they don't look at the character themselves or itself. That's just the proof. They look through the character and they see your spirit. And so why enforce limitations on yourself? Because you could make the argument that you can be free when there's no rules. And it's like limitations or the concretization of something that is abstract is the ability to communicate who you are to the rest of the world in a way that they can understand. Because if you're abstract and they're abstract, how are you guys going to communicate? There needs to be a bridging between you two. And bridges are made out of concrete so that you have firm foundation to walk across. And so any type of communication is a type of concretization, whether it's words or actions. But actions specifically speak louder than words. There's even a quote that was like, preach always, use words when necessary. And it's because words they're concrete. Like, don't get me wrong, but actions, especially over a long period of time, meaning character, is the most concrete that you can get. And so that's why when we think of Jesus symbolizing the ultimate character that we should model, and we look to the cross, which is also a symbol for how we should go about things, it's because we're looking at the measurement. We're looking at what are the lines that I should stay within so that I can ultimately express who I'm supposed to be inside of Jesus Christ, right? And so it's not, Jesus doesn't give us rules, so the Bible doesn't give us rules so that we can't do things. It's so that we can do things better. And the way that I'm looking at this is like, if you're to play a chess game and you look at the game and you're like, I don't like any of the rules, I'm not playing it, I'm going to play the game my own way. That's fine, but nobody's going to be able to play with you because there's no unified agreement at which you can move forward with the game. Nobody knows how to play with you. And so that the second that you follow the rules, then the game is playable, and then you can play the game an infinite amount of ways with however many people want to play. And so that's what the Mosaic Law and the Sermon on the Mount is representing. It's the unifying contract in which the game of life is playable. And if you look at any of the so-called rules of right and wrong, it's always fostering the relationship, because the unification is the relationship, but the rules are the things. They're not. Life isn't about right and wrong. Right and wrong is just what you do so that you can be in relationship with each other. Life is actually about relationship. So the rules are supporting the relationship. The relationship isn't supposed to support the rules. That's the same thing as saying that people serve systems. If life is about right and wrong, then people are supposed to serve systems. And that's not true. Systems serve people. That's why your habits serve you if you're doing things correctly. And so the way to look at the Mosaic Law and the Bible itself is not through the lens of right and wrong. Not primarily. You should still know that, just like you should know the rules of the game. But it's about the relationship between you and the other person. You know, that's why it says to serve. That's why it says to love. That's why it says to trust. All of these things are beyond reasoning. It's a relational thing. And so what does your character represent then? Because we call the character, or we call letters inside of words characters. It's the frame in which something is represented. And so if you look at the context of your life, just like the context of a word inside of a sentence, what is the story that you are representing? What is the symbol of your life? What are you pointing towards? What's the meaning of your character pointing to? And is it pointing to Christ? I mean, like, if you actually sit down and look at your decisions and actions, is your life symbolizing a Christ-like character? And you know, that's a tough question, because it's not so cut and dry. It's not just about praying and reading your Bible. It's about loving your enemies and forgiving and being patient and trusting that things are going to be okay. You know, if you're caught up in anxiety and stress and worry all the time, there's a pretty big argument to be made that you're not trusting God enough. And so, is that about right and wrong? Or is that just about growing your relationship with Christ? You know, I don't wake up every morning and think, I'm not going to cheat on my wife today, because I don't view my relationship with her through right and wrong. I just think, you know, what would serve her? I love her. I want to do what's best for her. What would serve her? And so that's the way that we should look at Christ. You know, we don't look at the contract instead of the relationship. We look at the relationship. We experience the relationship, and then we see the contract as solving confusion, you could say. And we don't, you know what, I'll just leave it there. I'm about to pull up into my house, but those were a couple of the ideas rolling around in my head, and I'm going to write about those tomorrow morning and see where we're at. I may do another video, I may not. I may wait a couple days, but yeah, let me know what you think.